Revelation 2, verse 8 to 11. And unto the angel of the church in Smyrna write these things, saith the first and the last, which was dead and is alive. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, and I know the blaspheming of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Fear none of these things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the church. He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death. In verse 9, he said, I know your works. That means every church on earth today should take note that God knows our works. You may think that he doesn't know your work, or that he's not concerned about your work. That is not true. God is concerned about our works. As an individual, as saints, and as a corporate body of saints. He knows our works. To the church of Smyrna, Jesus said, I know your work and your tribulation and poverty, but you are rich. And I know the blasphemy of them that say they are Jews and are not, but at the synagogue of Satan. In verse 9, Jesus talked about knowing the works of the church of Smyrna. It was their works of love towards kingdom advancement. But something great here is that he also knows their tribulation. The word tribulation was taken from a practice of how they were punished once they do not compromise their faith in Christ. Once they stand against the worship of the gods of the Roman Empire and do not follow the culture of the Roman Empire. Jesus said, I know your tribulation because you have stood for Christ. And he also talked about their outward lack, their poverty. They were not so rich, and the cause was that they could not buy and sell if they were not ready to worship the gods and the goddess of Rome. So they were in poverty outwardly, physically, yet the scripture said they were rich, even though they were without material things. They were rich implies that Christ was their inner man's satisfaction. When Christ is your inner satisfaction, physical lack of things can never cause you to compromise your faith. If the lack of money, cars, houses can cause you to compromise your service to God, that means Christ has not become your satisfaction inwardly. It means you are spiritually poor. And until truly Christ is your inner satisfaction, physical things will keep being a problem to you. And you think that God doesn't love you enough because you don't have physical things sufficiently enough. We have a lot of Christians who think this way, and they feel like God has abandoned them. That they have been praying for a long time and God has not given them the car that they want. God has not yet answered their prayer. That means God doesn't love them enough. The church of Smyrna never taught like this. Their service to God was not based on material goods. Just like Job, Satan said, if you take everything, he will curse you. He will reject you. And God allowed Satan to tempt Job. And afterwards, Job never turned his heart away from God. Job made it clear that he wasn't serving God because of what God has given to him or what he has not given to him. I serve him for who he is, and God was his inner satisfaction. The Smyrna church was satisfied with their life in God, which was Christ in them. Scriptures say, I know the blaspheming of them which say they are Jews, but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. These Jews were slandering the saints in Smyrna and setting them up for troubles with the Roman authorities. God declared them to be the synagogue of Satan. Yet in the midst of all this slandering against the saints in Smyrna, they held on to their faith. To the Christians in Smyrna, Jesus said to them, do not fear the things which you are going to suffer. Suffering will come. Many Christians are never raised with the very understanding that grace and affliction, grace and suffering are synonymous, that they go hand in hand. They are made to believe that once is of grace, there is no more suffering. Christian suffering is actually the cross of Jesus walking in a sense. Once the saint has identified with the cross of Jesus, by way of being born again, the saint must allow the cross to walk in him or her. When the cross of Jesus begins to walk in you as a saint in Christ, then you do not resist to walk in the cross in you. That is what is called Christian suffering. It means that you are going to go through a lot of pain, a lot of displeasure for the sake of Christ and his gospel and his kingdom. You are not going to try to stop the pains. In James chapter 1, the Bible said, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations. When you encounter troubles, the Bible said, count it all joy because God is working out patience in you. God is working out spiritual stamina in you. So Christian suffering, the working of the cross in us is for the purpose of God settling you. God finding you to give you territory to cover, grounds to cover, to take over for his kingdom. He said, fear none of these things which ye shall suffer. Behold, see intelligently, look at the devil, and do not fear whatever he's going to do, because victory is already ahead. To the church in Smyrna, the Bible also said they will be cast into prison and they will be tried. And he said that they should be faithful unto death and that he will give them the crown of life. In other words, in following Jesus, you must share in the suffering of Jesus Christ. In Philippians 3:10, the Bible said, that I may know him and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his suffering, being made conformable unto his death. The church in our day isn't raised to see this part of the suffering in Philippians 3:10. So, there is a place for Christian suffering. If we go through suffering, pains, we should be faithful not to compromise so that we will earn the crown of life. I pray that whatever we go through in life, that we will not compromise. We will stay faithful till the end. The Smyrna church were faithful. You too can be faithful. You too can stand strong till the end, doing God's works by love. This is my prayer for you. The church of Smyrna got it right. The church of Smyrna were true to Jesus. Let us emulate this church. You can be a Smyrna saint today. God bless you.